You know, he piped up on Twitter and he texted me last night saying, you know, make the fight. The truth is, Mauricio Sulaiman, wrongly in my opinion, has made it clear that Dillian Whyte will be called for the mandatory in February 21. So if I'm Dillian right now, we know he's got a Povetkin fight coming up. He's actually in a great spot because I believe Wilder would have done everything he could to avoid Dillian Whyte. Not necessarily because he was afraid of him, just because I think it's got to that point now in the egos where it's like, no, I'll make you wait. Now, Fury's not going to duck Dillian Whyte if he's mandatory. And at the end of the day, AJ will fight Fury and Dillian Whyte will be mandatory for the winner. So he's in a great spot. It's just come a year too late. And
you know, the WBC was doing really well. Now, let me say this. The WBC, before Mauricio Sulaiman's reign, was like, you know, they were shady as fuck. I'm just going to leave it at that, you know, to be respectful. He has done a good job with bringing the other sanctioning bodies closer together. You know, putting on those meetings that they had, or them conferences they had a few years ago, longer than that. Getting his belt or their organization's belt back to being respectable is like, you know, like honoring mandatories and things like that. But it really all started when Miguel Cotto dropped the belt, and Canelo was basically almost being forced to drop the belt because he wouldn't fight Golovkin. They got scared. So fast forward, Deontay Wilder, you know, had a nice little reputation with the WBC, especially getting all these voluntaries and everything, up until Povetkin failed his drug test and he went and started fighting more voluntaries. And basically, they've been protecting him, you can say, from mandatories. I'm not saying from Dillian Whyte, but from mandatories. You pretty much can say. So, the biggest proof is this. Why was Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury allowed to fight twice before he would be able to fight his mandatory? Deontay Wilder would possibly be able to fight, if he were to win, fight three times in 2020. And Dillian Whyte's mandatory wouldn't be until 2021, February 2021. None of it made sense. And it doesn't help that so they couldn't order a mandatory for Canelo again, which would be Jamal Charlo. They make Canelo a franchise champion because they were scared to go to him and say, hey, Canelo, it's mandatory time. Can you fight Jamal Charlo? And Canelo, no belt don't run me. I'll drop your belt. Puh. I'm not giving you my money. They made a franchise shit. Which made things even worse is they made Loma, and I love Loma. This is no shade to Loma. They made Loma a franchise champion. A fighter who has never been a WBC champion in any other weight class. Tell me money don't walk and money don't talk. And bullshit walks. Right? Crazy.
The problem with the Ribas UCAD situation, in my opinion, was that the WBC acted too quickly as almost like an excuse to put his mandatory on ice. You know, allow these two Fury-Wilder fights. But publicly, they've said it so many times, February 21. So we know it's just under a year to wait.
I think so. I agree with him. You know, I personally questioned Mauricio Sulaiman at the Wilder versus Stavern 2 press conference. Now, let me tell you how it all started. It was supposed to be Wilder versus Stavern. It was supposed to be Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. The first time he was supposed to fight. Luis Ortiz failed the drug test for his blood pressure pills. It was supposed to be Bermain Stavern versus Dominic Breazeale as the co-feature or on the undercard for the WBC interim. Luis Ortiz failed the drug test, so therefore Bermain Stavern got the fight, ended up getting starched, which effectively made two mandatories. Since there was already a contract signed for Dominic Breazeale to fight for an interim title and Bermain Stavern to fight for an interim title, both fighting each other, basically both of those guys were owed a title shot. At that time, Dillian Whyte was the silver champion or something like that. So basically, I tried to talk to the WBC about it, and basically he pretty much said, Eddie Hearn's piece has seen some better days. Anyway, I tried to talk to him about it. He tried to finesse me like I ain't know the rankings or whatever the case may have been. So then you see what happens with Tyson Fury. Basically, long story short, they have been fucking Dillian Whyte. And that failed UCI test, or whatever that UCI test shit was, he's back, whatever the case may be. I don't look at him as being a drug cheat. My personal opinion. So that was an extra excuse, like Eddie Hearn says, and I agree with him. They'd be like, oh shit, good. Let's go ahead and get this Wilder Fury 2 shit signed and 3 before Dillian Whyte get back. Hurry up. Because he's going to be back. He's going to want his title shot. We got to give him something. You see what I'm saying? And then for them not to make it for, well, after the conclusion of Wilder Fury 2 and 3, they said, no, we're going to give you a date, February 21. What the fuck? Like February of 2021. And Wilder is known, like, for example, if you're fighting in February, you can possibly fight in June or July and then fight in December or so. And then they call for Dillian Whyte to be the mandatory. Dillian Whyte doesn't get his mandatory fight shot in February of 2020. That's Eddie Hearn saying they'll call for it. So therefore, there had to be negotiations and a purse bid. He wouldn't possibly get his shot until fucking the summer of 2021, maybe even the fall. Like, what the fuck? They was on some bullshit. So I'm going to run it back for you. Maybe, even though I was a little ranting and raving, it may make a little bit more sense.
It's got to that point now in the egos where it's like, no, I'll make you wait. Now, next fight, and we may even see it sooner, but worst case scenario, all clear that Dillian Whyte will be called for the mandatory in February 21. So if I'm Dillian right now, we know he's got a Povetkin fight coming up. He's actually in a great spot because I believe Wilder would have done everything he could to avoid Dillian Whyte. Not necessarily because he was afraid of him, just because I think it's got to that point now in the egos where it's like, no, I'll make you wait. Now, Fury's not going to duck Dillian Whyte if he's mandatory. And at the end of the day, AJ will fight Fury and Dillian Whyte will be mandatory for the winner. So he's in a great spot. It's just come a year too late. And the problem with the Rivas UCAD situation, in my opinion, was that the WBC acted too quickly as almost like an excuse to put his mandatory on ice. Allow these two Fury Wilder fights, but publicly they've said it so many times, February 21. So we know it's just under a year to wait, but it's 2 fights, the first being Povetkin. And listen, let's give Dillian Whyte some credit. Time and time again, he's going into tough fights when he doesn't have to. He's WBC interim world champion. He's been mandatory for about 46 years. At what point are the WBC just going to turn around and say enough is enough? But we know that the worst case is February 21. But again, he's boxed Chisora twice. He's beat Joseph Parker. He boxed Rivas. Now he's boxing Povetkin. He's fighting all these guys that you just wouldn't pick while you're waiting for a shot. So give him the credit. He's deserved his shot. He's interim world champion. And one of the things that's probably gone missing in all this is right now, Dillian Whyte is officially the mandatory challenger of Tyson Fury. So his shot will come. We've just got to push it and push it. Unfortunately for me, the question I'm getting non-stop is, when's Fury against Joshua? And that is the fight people want to see. They'd love to see Fury against Whyte as well. But ultimately, we have a chance to make an undisputed fight. But Dillian Whyte is right there. He's going to get his shot, and he's.
Do you think that Dillian Whyte can go down as one of the greatest heavyweights non-champion ever with looking at his resume, especially if he fights Povetkin? I still rate Povetkin very high. Even though if I'm correct, I believe I had Povetkin losing a close fight to Michael Hunter, but maybe I had it, but I think I had it a draw myself. I mean, look, I rank Oscar Rivas, by the way, who is officially signed with Top Rank. I rank also, PBC ain't been really signing up no heavyweights, man. They've been really missing out on that. I like a lot of Oscar Rivas. I rank Derek Chisora still. I rank Joseph Parker. Lucas Brown was a very, very quality name at that time. Robert Helenius is a quality name at that time, in my opinion, who's fighting Adam Kolonowski just March the 7th, headlining PBC on Fox from the Barclays Center. I might go to that fight. I have until this week to decide. Malcolm Tan, I don't count him. Derek Chisora did the first fight. Dave Allen, even though Dave Allen was, unseasoned at that time, and still, I think he would still lose to Dillian Whyte today. The Anthony Joshua fight. Like, bro, look at that resume. It rivals Deontay Wilder's. Better than his shit. And it's a shame that he won't be getting a title shot for quite some time. He's got so many people in front of him in regards to the boxing rankings. Kwanoski may be fucking ordered to no. Kwanoski, yo, it's gonna be. So here's how it stacks up. Here's the guys that have to get a shot before Dillian Whyte. Deontay Wilder if he takes the rematch clause. Kubrat Pulev. Alexander Usyk. Then Dillian Whyte. And that's just all around the board. Like, that's all around the board. And he's already an interim champion. Crazy. But first, he's going to have to get through Povetkin, obviously. Whoever he fights after that, if he beats Povetkin, and maybe 2 more fights before he can get a shot. And with his resume, they're going to have to be significant fights. It's crazy. It's crazy. Deontay Wilder fought Luis Ortiz twice in that time. Tyson Fury twice. I'm TstreeT Controversy with FightView360.com. We cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.
It's going to be in the biggest fight possible in the division. Well, look, I think, you know, if you're honest, and it's easy for me to come onto any interview and say, Britain, you know, this fight must take place in Britain, and you know, it doesn't matter about the money. We also know this is the fight game, this is prize fighting, and you have teams of people that want to generate the most amount of money for their fighter, for them. There's a lot of greed.